to our November NAC meeting, and Franziska would want me to make the announcement that now the meeting has started. We are recording. Anything else you would add to that, Franziska? Okay, that's good. And I'm just delighted that you're all here, and a reminder that we are going to take off next month because December is a busy time for all of us. And so hopefully we're going to have a guest stop by quickly, a cool neighbor who is going to tell us about something awesome that they're doing in the neighborhood. But in the meantime, you know, even though we only have one attendee who isn't a participant, if you would mind typing in the chat how you found our meeting. And I guess I'll say that periodically throughout the meeting because we're trying to figure out what's the best way to get the word out there. But I will start out with intros and we can go around. I'm Jen Fife-Adams and I'm co-chair of the Sexton Mountain NAC. And I think I've been doing this gig for close to 3 or 4 years now. And I have been living in this neighborhood for 12 years. So first I was in a townhouse, and then I loved the neighborhood so much I moved into a house in the neighborhood. So happy to be here. My kids both went through Sexton Mountain Elementary. And so really, really love this neighborhood. So Sharon, go ahead.
I'm Sharon Dunham. I'm co-chair and also BCCI rep. I have been in this neighborhood since 1992, was co-chair of the Sexton Mountain NAC in 1990 something, 5, 6 something. And then missed it, came back to the NAC.
Excellent. All right, Franziska, will you say a quick hi? Oh, she's chewing.
Hello.
I'll come back. Mark, do you want to say hi?
Hi, Mark Hokkanen. I'm the Risk and Contract Manager with Trolling Hills Park and Rec District. I live actually on the north side of Hart, so I'm just outside the NAC officially, but I've been the rep for about 5 years now. My 3 boys went through Sexton Mountain as well.
Excellent. That's a good segue to Shauna, who lives near you.
Hi, I'm Shauna Zimmerman. So I also live just north of Hart. And I have 2 kids, one who went all the way through Sexton Mountain and one that went partway through Sexton Mountain. Both are at ACMA now. And I have been in the neighborhood for 14 years. I think we bought this house about 14 years ago and love it here.
And Shauna manages social media for us.
Yes.
All right, Olivia, do you want to say hi? Oh, I think you are muted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Ross. I go to Mountainside High School. I'm a sophomore this year. I have 5 younger siblings. I've lived in the same house all my life. We live 1 block away from Sexton Mountain. Both my parents are educators, but my mom is now a stay-at-home mom with all of the kids we have now in our family. What else should I say? Oh, so I've lived in Beaverton for all my life, so 16 years.
Cool. All right, Franziska's still chewing. We'll come back to her at the end. Officer Fleckenstein, you want to say hi?
Hi. Again, Officer Paul Fleckenstein. Paul is probably easier than my last name. I've been with the Beaverton Police Department for a little over 3 years now, but my wife and I actually moved into the Beaverton area just this past year, so we're living just north of Hart as well. So I live and work in Beaverton, so I'm happy to be here.
Yay, excellent. All right, Jim, you're up.
Oh, yeah, hey, Jim Blaich, been in this area for it's been over 20 years. My son went to Sexton Mountain, Highland, and then ACMA. Now working in the film industry in LA. Been on this for, I don't know, has it been 3 or 4 years? We got Jen, we've got to figure that one out. Also been on the BAC now for 7 years, the Arts Commission. I don't know, am I recorded tonight or treasurer? What's my duty tonight?
You are recorder tonight.
All right. That's what I am. So speak up. I'm taking notes.
Excellent. All right. And Cassera, do you mind saying hi and introducing yourself?
Sure. I am Cassera Phipps. I'm a senior planner with the city's community development department. And I've been with the city for, oh my gosh, I think 12 going on 13 years now. So we've seen a lot of change in that time. And I'll present some more change that's coming as we get through the agenda.
Excellent. All right, Franziska, can you say hi?
Yes. Hi, my name is Franziska Rose. I'm the Public Involvement Coordinator with the City of Beaverton, and I am the staff liaison to this NAC.
Excellent. And we love having you as our staff liaison. It's
Thank you.
Good. Yes. Clap, clap. All right. So, Paul, I think we're going to get going for you so you don't have to stick around. I think this is your night off. This is like your Friday or your Sunday or something.
Actually, well, I actually work tonight. Yeah, so I actually had court earlier today, so I had a kind of a safety clause. So they kind of required me to stick around. So I actually going to work at 8. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you can speak up and then you can go to work.
Well, perfect. I appreciate that. Yeah, so just to start, I apologize for my very small facial hair that I'm growing. It's for No Shave November for our police department. We do it typically every year. It's for cancer research funding that we try to kind of to put forth to various cancer research fundings. And so we've already raised, I can't remember how many participants we have within the police department, but we have $1.4 thousand raised so far. And so there's still more people kind of putting in more money and things like that. So my wife is not a huge fan of this, but I think it's for a good cause. So we'll try to keep that going, but hopefully not too much longer because it's not the best look on me. So in regards to the police department, as far as Sexton Mountain and things like that, kind of crimes and things like that, I haven't seen too much of an uptick. I think the big thing, a lot of everybody's radar obviously has to do with kind of COVID, kind of keeping safe in that regard. And even at our own police department, we've gone down to a reduced schedule where we're working three nights. So typically we work 4 10s, but we're working 3 days and then a standby day just to kind of protect ourselves and the community and things like that. In regards to that, we don't have a ton of events and things like that just due to COVID, unfortunately, which I'm sure most of you are kind of in the same boat. Kind of it limits a lot of people's abilities to kind of do things right now, but in order to keep everyone safe, I think that's the main goal, and hopefully it accomplishes that kind of this time around, hopefully. Obviously within the state itself, there's kind of going to be a lot of new changes when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to kind of some of the new measures like 110 and 109. If you guys have any questions about that or anything like that, maybe I can shed some light on it, but I'm not going to be able to, obviously until January, a lot of those things are going to kind of change and things like that. So I think overall, I think the department is looking forward to some of those changes, hoping to get people the help that they need, and just hoping that overall those kind of changes and amendments change things for people in a lot of the ways that kind of moving forward. So any ways that we can kind of help alleviate that and help those things, we're all for that. So as of right now, I don't have anything else to present. So unless you guys have any other questions for me or what the police department's doing right now or anything like that, I'd be happy to help.
Safety Center.
Yes, so the safety center is up and running. So we've been, I think, a couple months there now. We kind of had a couple issues that we had to deal with on the get-go. We had like a power outage, but like our generators were put to the test right off the bat. It's a fantastic building. I'm very pleased to be there. I haven't been with the police department very long, but having been at the old building that was not meant to house both the court system and our police department, it was kind of just figuring out how things go along from there. But we are enjoying the new building. We're very appreciative that we were able to move into that space to kind of call it our own. And that's kind of more in the centralized portion of Beaverton. And so we enjoy that it's kind of out in the open. Everyone can come and check it out. So they're still doing some construction on the outside, kind of some beautifying projects and benches and gardens and things like that they're working on right now. But hopefully those should be set up within the next couple months, but for the most part, the building is up and running and we're ready to go. So,
Do you know when Blessing's sculpture is going to be installed?
I do not. That is a very good question. I would imagine once they have most of that front portion, I know that's where most of our art and installations are going to go into. I would imagine once that's all said and done, I would imagine they will probably bring those out to put in place.
Everyone needs to get down there and take a look at that when it comes. It's going to be striking.
Cool. All right. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
With the governor's new orders of, you know, enforcing the like groups of people. What was I'm not sure the right terminology. Like you're if you'll be fined if you have over the recommended the amount of people, the 6 people amount of people in public. So like when will that start to be enforced, I guess?
That's a very good question. I mean, I know on the 18th is when everything's supposed to kind of go into effect. I haven't seen exactly what the actual like violation or ORS code or anything like that would be in regards to that. I just know that that's something that obviously the governor's put in place. Something that we'll certainly keep an eye on. I wish I had more information right now. It's just kind of obviously with everything kind of changing and going, that's something kind of our administration, everything is kind of looking at right now. So I'm sure once we have more news or even Beaverton, we can put that out for you guys.
Yeah.
So I just had a comment. Whoever, I think you guys must have changed whoever does your social media at the Beaverton Police Department. You guys had some really good posts. So if you guys don't follow the Beaverton Police Department on social media, like their recent posts are like so entertaining. I would follow them.
Yes, Officer Matt Henderson. He's currently our public information officer, and then he's kind of collaborating with a couple of other officers and non-sworn personnel within the department. So yeah, they've been putting out a lot of great posts to kind of as far as to keep everyone within the Beaverton community kind of aware of what all we're doing on a day-to-day basis and kind of some of the interesting cases that we often run into. Yeah, so yeah, I'm happy that those are all being posted so you guys get a little taste of kind of what we're dealing with on a daily basis to help the community and keep you guys safe. So,
All right.
all right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
All right, well, thank you very much. You guys have a good rest of your night.
Have
Yeah.
a good night at work.
Well, bye.
All right, Mark. So what's going on at THPRD and what can we look forward to under the governor's new restrictions?
Well, I'll start off with some positive stuff before I get into that. How's that?
Good.
So we have a couple of trail updates. The new Bethany Creek Trail is now open. This is a section that connects Rock Creek and the West Side Trail all the way up to North Springville. So we're almost making that whole north-south connection there. We're also working in partnership with Clean Water Services to enhance a bridge replacement along Fano Creek at Greenway. And that should be installed sometime during the month of November. So that should be done here shortly. We're in the process of also kind of preparing for winter in tree management. We had a very dry summer. And then with the recent windstorms, we're having staff go out and kind of pay extra attention to some of the tree health and hazards. So staff has been investing some extra time in the last couple of weeks, you know, inspecting trees in natural areas and responding to concerns that neighbors have about potential tree falling on their property and doing some damage. So they're out there with that. Also, West Side Bridge or West Side Trail Bridge is a project we're exploring with ODOT in Washington County. This is basically a development of a pedestrian bicycle bridge that will cross Highway 26, linking the West Side Trail to the north side, right around the Southwest Greenbrier Parkway. Right now we're just in the first phase of the project, looking at studies and, you know, what the practicality of it is in constructing that bridge. And I will post a link to a project website if you'd like to take a look at it. So about tomorrow, So yes, the governor's announced last week, obviously we have a 2-week freeze with the possibility of a total of 4 weeks. She has not announced that for Washington County yet, only Multnomah County. So as of tomorrow, all our facilities are going to be closed to the public until December 2nd. So that includes activities are canceled with the exception of childcare and the preschool programs because there's a emergency clause in there for that. We will also continue our temporary homeless shelter at the LC Stir Center during this time, as well as continuing the Meals on Wheels program at the Stir Center. I alluded earlier before we started the meeting that, you know, all parks, playgrounds, athletic fields, courts, natural areas get to remain open. So we encourage everybody to go outside, you know, comply with the governor's orders of physical distancing and face coverings. I know the weather's not great, but at least this time they're not shutting, you know, some of those amenities down like they had in summer. Because we do have some outdoor activities that were planned, such as special events. There were some garden work parties, volunteer events. Those have been canceled because of the crowds, the numbers of people involved. So I know there's a lot of questions about, you know, what if. We've been playing, you know, kind of my staff and I, because we're in charge of safety for the park district, we just have our phrases, you know, be flexible like Gumby. Because all summer long, you know, we're up and down with things, and my 2 staff members and I, you know, constantly are having to change things. You know, we think we got it going, and then the next day it changes. So, but anyhow, you know, we're committed to, you know, the safety of the patrons as well as our employees, and we'll share any updates as we know them. Through our social media, website, and our email lists. But at this point, you know, we're just following guidance from the governor.
So questions?
I'm actually curious if you're having trouble, I mean, prior to shutdown, are you having trouble getting people to comply with the having to wear a mask? I know I play at the tennis center we mentioned earlier, and I've seen them have to come by and, you know, and remind some people to, you know, stop pulling their mask down to hear and play.
Yeah, the tennis center, I hate to say, it's the only one that I've heard that we've had concerns brought up with by players. You know, the people that are using and working out in the gyms and the buildings have not really had a problem. Excuse me. Swimming pools, I mean, when we did finally get those open about middle of last month, their only concern was they didn't like the fact that we couldn't open up the locker rooms for showers. It was basically you came dressed, you swam, you left basically kind of dripping wet. So, but we're all working through this together.
Did you have to furlough a number of staff again, or?
No, what we've done at this point is for the part-time staff that we just brought back on, we've just not scheduled them for the next 2 weeks. And those staff that were working at centers, we basically asked them to work back at home. We have kind of a list of projects that, you know, other departments need done. I mean, I know my department has a number of, you know, items that we can, you know, assign staff. It's not their typical job, but it's something that will, you know, benefit my department, but then keep them occupied and, you know, on the payroll for now. So at this point, there's no plan in the next 2 weeks that I'm aware of to do anything other than have them at home working.
Yeah.
Mark, is
Yep.
it still targeted that Garden Home and Elsie will maybe open in July if all things kind of bump along?
I think that was the initial thought. I mean, you know, again, this is a moving target. So, you know, at this point, you know, it's hard to say.
Okay.
I would assume that's still the plan.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Mark. We send you lots of mental strength and capacity for managing all this.
Well, it's, yeah, be flexible like Gumby.
Yes. Let's all use that as our role model.
I've got
Right?
my Gumby back there.
Excellent.
Oh, you do? It's
do.
funny. I went online to find some for my staff because they didn't, they're a younger crowd and they didn't know what Gumby and Pokey were. Had to show them.
Well, here we go. Here's a demo.
There we go.
Gumby,
And
Pokey,
there we go.
and Mr. Bill.
Oh no.
You can tell what kind of humor I have.
Well, like just when you thought that the neighborhood meeting wasn't exciting, then we get some exciting demos here. That's awesome.
Well, I'm also going to excuse myself. This is, I think, the first time I've done that early, but I know that we don't have a meeting next month, so I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, and we'll see you at the first of the year.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Happy 2 holidays.
Thank you.
All right, Franziska, what's going on in the city?
Hey there. Just a couple of updates here. So the first is that the city will continue providing a combination of remote, virtual, and on-site services to the public through at least Thursday, December 31st in response to continued fluctuations in COVID-19 cases. Visit www.beavertonoregon.gov/coronavirus for the latest on available services, including housing, business, and community resources, building permits and applications, utility billing, and more. Most services are available remotely by phone or online, with programs, events, meetings, and other activities happening virtually. In-person visits for passports are available by appointment, as well as some court and library services with distancing and other safeguards in place. And this was before the governor's latest orders, so some of that will change for a couple of weeks. Community members should help limit the spread of the virus and practice statewide requirements such as to wear a face covering when in indoor public spaces and outdoors when 6 feet of distance isn't maintained. Washing hands often, covering coughs, staying home when sick, knowing your symptoms, and getting a flu shot are also recommended. For additional information and guidance, visit the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, Oregon Health Authority, Washington County Public Health Division, and 211. And then the library continues BCL to go at the pickup service at both locations. While library buildings remain closed, library card holders can make an appointment or drop in for BCL to go service by walk at both locations and drive up main library only. BCL to go appointments can be made at beavertonlibrary.org/BCL to go. If you prefer to drop in, please visit beavertonlibrary.org/BCL to go for current hours of operation. The book drops at both the main library and the Murray Shoals branch are open for returns. In addition to the computer lab at the main library, Tuesdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Wednesdays 3 to 7 p.m., the library is offering wireless printing. With wireless printing, you can print to a library printer from your smartphone, laptop, or tablet. No library card is required, and printing is free up to 20 pages. Send print jobs to the library through web form, by email, or using the Printer On app. Then come to the library to pick up your print job during computer lab hours, or come to the front doors of the main library with your email address. Staff will use this to identify print and give you the printouts at the library front doors. Visit beavertonlibrary.org/467/forward/computer-lab-and-wireless-printing. That's a little bit of a mouthful for more information. And let's see, lastly, utility bill relief for qualified Washington County residents impacted by COVID-19 is still available. Beaverton residents can get easy help paying water, sewer, waste collection, and other utility balances from March 1st through December 30th. Assistance is available in partnership with Washington County, Community Action, and other local cities and utilities. Those interested in or needing assistance, even for the first time, are encouraged to apply and take advantage of available funding. Visit www.caowash.org to get started. In addition, housing and emergency rent assistance is ongoing. Nearly 700,000 has already been deployed through partner agencies, with another 300,000 remaining available for low-income renters. For more information, visit beavertonoregon.gov/housing. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, so tonight the open house for the interim city manager was scheduled, and then it's being rescheduled.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if you guys have a date for that. Not yet.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. And then my next question was, will the interim city manager be starting around the same time as our new incoming mayor will be sworn in? Like, I know the charter is starting and all that, like, is it all in conjunction with each other?
Well, I know that the interim city manager, I think they're definitely meant to be in the position January 1st. I don't know when the new mayor gets sworn in, but I think the idea is that the interim city manager will also start a couple of weeks in advance of January 1st to get settled into the position. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure if those things coincide with one another. But that is a great question. Yes, Sharon.
Couple of things. One, extreme weather shelter, and two, I was happy to hear that the interim city manager that was not going to be allowed to become permanent, should that person be, that has been changed.
Yep.
So I was happy to hear that.
So are you wondering what's going on with the severe weather shelter?
So it's 24/7 through March, is that correct?
Yep, through March 2021. Yep.
Okay.
So it's basically just about 120 straight days.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Any other questions?
So I saw that Hillsborough now has a Bookomat in like their downtown area. Like it's like almost like it's a library vending machine for books. And I'm like, we need a Bookomat. Just got to put it out there, man. We need a Bookomat. Like, how cool is that? You just go and you press a button like, hey, and the book comes out.
I'm going to have to look this up now. I've never heard of such a thing.
That's like Redbox for books.
Exactly, except they're library books, so you can rent. You can like do it on your card, and you can go get it from the Bookomat, or you can, like go to the Bookomat and just rent borrow what's there. And it's like, I just think that's awesome.
That is such a great idea, because I work at a gallery next to the Cedar Mill Library, and those poor folks who are sitting there under tents with winds and rain whipping and people in a line out in the cold trying to pick up or drop off their stuff. It's just, yeah, a Bookomat would be great. Love it.
All right. Well, I guess
Instead of using your credit card to buy stuff, you would just like swipe your library card, so it would charge it to your account, or not charge, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just your library card and your PIN, which we do to you use to do it on your Kindle or do it at the library. You just do it at the Bookomat.
All right.
Well, I got a question, Franziska. Yeah, follow up on Sharon's point that the interim city manager now, there was a temporary position to try and find somebody to recruit for a permanent member, which was not one and the same. And the people I talked, they were adamant about sticking to that. What changed in that?
I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
It might be that it doesn't preclude somebody who's a really awesome interim to take that job. Otherwise it would preclude that person from that.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Was it, I don't know, and maybe you can't answer this, but was it that there were a lack of people that were applying just to be interim and were trying to apply to be permanent, and that sort of precluded that decision?
I don't know. I mean, they're not actively recruiting for the regular city manager at this point. So, so I don't think that that would be the case. Yeah, they won't start recruiting for the regular city manager until the spring of next year.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, Franziska.
Thank you.
All right, Cassera, we are ready to hear about development in Cooper Mountain. Cassera, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry, my computer just logged out and I had to sign back in before I could unmute. So
Okay.
lucky timing.
Yeah.
All right, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, so let's get started. Here tonight to give an update on the Cooper Mountain Community Plan. Most of you may be familiar with the area, but we'll start just of an overview of the geography and kind of how we got to the point where we're developing the community plan. I'll share the working project goals, the public engagement that's been done to date. We've also done a lot of existing conditions research, so I'll share some of the key findings from that, talk about next steps, and then leave us with some time for questions at the end. So what we're calling just Cooper Mountain is this middle area that you can see outlined in kind of the brownish yellow. It's about 1,200 acres in size. It is currently outside of city limits, but in December of 2018, it was brought inside the region's urban growth boundary. So to the south is South Cooper Mountain, which is inside city limits, experiencing a lot of development right now, and it's also where Mountainside High School is. And then to the north is North Cooper Mountain. This area is also inside the urban growth boundary, and it's in unincorporated Washington County, but the city does not intend to plan for this area really until Cooper Mountain is kind of checked off the list here. So, so when we say Cooper Mountain, it's really just this middle section. So as I mentioned, it was just brought into the urban growth boundary almost 2 years ago. We have a housing target of 3,760 new homes. That number comes from the concept plan for all 3 of these areas that the city led back in 2014-15. And we are also required to provide a range of housing types. That is a condition of approval from Metro's decision to expand the urban growth boundary. It is also very similar to the language that is included in House Bill 2001, which you may have heard of as well through the city's Housing Options Project. So in addition to these housing targets, we know that we need to provide infrastructure to the area as well. It's primarily agricultural and forest land. There is some residential development, although it tends to be lower density, large lots. So in most cases, the infrastructure would extend northward from South Cooper Mountain. And that includes bringing roads up to more urban standards, sewer, water, stormwater, you name it. And then if anyone's not familiar with the area, Cooper Mountain Nature Park is located in a portion of it. The nature park also extends up into North Cooper Mountain. But this area is gorgeous. It's just rich with natural resources. There are fantastic views. It also leads to some very tricky topography. There are steep slopes in the area. So when we're thinking about future development and how we provide these 3,700 new homes, we're dealing with some physical constraints in the project area as well. And then just in comparison to South Cooper Mountain, down here in the blue, there are many more property owners in this area. So it kind of just adds this layer of complexity as we try to develop a plan. So this is the rough project timeline. We are about 8 months in to the project. We officially kicked off, I think it was the Friday before everything closed down for COVID. So we got one meeting in. And so we are in this research and analysis phase right now. So we've been, it was actually kind of fortunate timing that we had planned on doing a lot of inventories and technical work during this first part. It has shifted our engagement to, primarily a virtual format. So we have been doing engagement, although it's taken a little different form than we originally anticipated, and I'll cover that in a bit. But I also wanted to note that kind of moving along in a parallel path with the community plan is a utility plan for the area. So just looking at how the sewer lines, storm will be handled, they're integrated, and we're coordinating closely with that team. But just in terms of who as far as consultants is working on the community plan, the utility team is separate. We have transportation, and the utilities are a separate team. So we will be beginning the next phase of the project in probably spring of 2021. And we anticipate that will go well into 2022. We're going to try our best to kind of tighten up probably this last phase of the project, where we actually develop the plan and implementation. And so you may see some slight changes here, primarily because we haven't scoped the remainder of the project yet. So just wanted to note that. And then a key difference between Cooper Mountain and South Cooper Mountain is that we do not anticipate annexing any properties within the boundary until the community plan is complete and adopted. So when we prepared South Cooper Mountain planning, the area was already brought inside and annexed into the city. So kind of different approach. So next I wanted to just cover the draft project goals. And these were shared with the community back in the summer. We had an online open house. We also shared them with City Council back in September for a work session. But the intent is to really start this project with that lens of racial equity. And so our first goal is, I kind of see it as an umbrella over the rest, to really improve outcomes for historically underserved and underrepresented communities. The next, as I kind of hinted at earlier, with the conditions of approval in House Bill 2001, is to provide a variety of housing types. That's not just the actual, built form of housing, but also making sure we're thinking about a range of income levels as well, including affordable housing. The next goal is related to natural resources, preserving our highest quality resources, trying to incorporate natural resources into new neighborhoods, and making sure that we connect and enhance habitat areas and maintain wildlife movement. And then we have improving community resilience to climate change and natural hazards, such as landslides or wildfires. The next goal relates to infrastructure and public facilities, making sure that really these new neighborhoods have all the facilities that they need, given that it's primarily, agricultural currently. And then also along with that, making sure that we are improving transportation infrastructure, not just for vehicles, but also thinking about options for walking, biking, and even transit. And then next is looking at the potential for commercial uses in the area. The concept plan that was adopted back in 2015 did not show any commercial uses in the Cooper Mountain area. There's that kind of Main Street commercial development that's shown in South Cooper Mountain on Shoals Ferry. So we're just revisiting that to see if there might be opportunities to have commercial uses, non-residential, a little further north. And then last, how do we make this all happen? Making sure that we have responsible, feasible funding strategies to help implement the plan. So in addition to some kind of interviews with key stakeholders, such as developers and property owners, we did hold a series of what we called listening sessions, or focus groups would be another term. One was with developers and property owners of relatively large parcels. The next was with natural resource representatives and advocates. And then the third was with community-based organizations and social service providers. We've also given a number of updates to boards, commissions, including BCCI and the Diversity Advisory Board. We did hold an online open house over the summer, really to get feedback on the draft project goals, and also just to get a sense of what people's desires are for the area. Once it's fully built out, what does it look like to you if you were to visit and come back? What does an inclusive neighborhood mean to you? And then right now, we are also asking for feedback on the existing conditions work. So I will put in a plug for that at the end of my presentation too, but just wanted to note that if you're interested in reviewing, we have several lengthy reports, but we also have a nice, I think a 9 or 10 page summary that is more visually appealing as well. So I think it really does a good job of summarizing our findings so far. And then some of the key themes that have come out of engagement with community members and stakeholders are to really build on the sense of place, primarily, taking advantage of those natural features that really define Cooper Mountain and making sure that we preserve and connect them. There are already a number of concerns about congestion and safety in the area, again, because we're dealing with 2-lane rural roads with more rooftops going up in South Cooper Mountain. That's only kind of exacerbating an already existing problem. And so the need to, plan for, the growth and improvements that need to be implemented to make sure that it's safe, not just for cars, but again, for pedestrians and cyclists as well. And then another idea that really emerged through public engagement has been creating neighborhood destinations. So making sure that people have places to go to. And I think that's kind of tied to the, commercial uses, but also thinking about public gathering places. It could be a plaza, it could be open space. Where do people like to go? And making sure that we have these places to not only draw people there, but make sure that people can also interact. And I think that's kind of what builds community. And then also looking at different impacts from funding tools. So depending on which tools we use to help provide infrastructure, I think there are some equity impacts, right? Is it is the cost passed down from the developer to the potential home buyer? Is it a cost that's spread out citywide, or is it paid for only within the project area? These are all considerations that no decisions have been made, but I think it's important that we identify what the trade-offs are and implications of some of these different funding tools. And then last, making sure that the community is engaged throughout the entire process, starting early on, and also making sure that they can influence decisions. So coming to them and engaging them in a meaningful, thoughtful way. All right, so now we're to the map section. This is the draft natural resource inventory. I won't get into to too much detail, but want to note that there, you see the blue, this is the McKernan Creek system. There's also a bit of Summer Creek over on the eastern side of the project area. And we also have a number of what we call, riparian habitat areas. These are shown as the kind of broader blue that extends out from the creeks, and that's surrounded by upland habitat, which is the green. And so the next map is going to show the topography of the area, and you'll see that there's a lot of overlap between where these resource areas are and the steep slopes. So generally, our steepest slopes run along those creek corridors, riparian corridors. And there are really only a couple of flat areas that are shown in the blue. One is along Tile Flat Road and Grabhorn Road, and the other up in this hilltop area along 175th and Kemmer. And the city's consultant team prepared a buildable lands inventory. This is something that we are required to do for expansion areas. And it looked at not only the physical constraints such as natural resources and slope, but also ownership and which properties were developed or not, and tried to make some assumptions about, well, would this potentially redevelop? If it was in public ownership, the answer is no, this is a committed property. Certainly nothing's going to develop on the nature park. And so when we remove all of these areas that likely wouldn't redevelop or are seriously constrained by slopes and resources, what we're left with is just over 400 acres. So I really thought that was interesting. And, thinking about, well, if we're, going to provide 3,700 new housing units, that takes a different shape than if we were talking about the entire 1,200 acre area. And we also looked at how are we going to, not only provide new connections to the neighborhoods in Cooper Mountain, but also provide greater connectivity, north on 175th Avenue. We recognize that this, or at least some of these roads are going to be more regional transportation corridors, right? We aren't in a, confined in our boundary with where we make our trips. And so we looked at the growth patterns that are kind of emerging from South Cooper Mountain. Most of these are either constructed or have been approved and development is underway. And so these blue arrows show, potential connections that will extend north from South Cooper Mountain. And I'm going to go back to the last map, but just thinking about, where will new growth be? We want to make sure that we're kind of connecting these developable areas through our new transportation network. So that's something that the project team will be developing and sharing with the community here in the next couple of months. And trails are also part of the transportation network. We're not just talking about roads. This map comes from the South Cooper Mountain Concept Plan, and we are making refinements and working closely with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District, as well as Metro, who owns the nature park, to make sure that we are providing trails, providing access to nature, and also, again, kind of connecting those neighborhood destinations, such as the nature park and Winkleman Park. So next steps for 2020, as I mentioned, we're asking for input on the existing conditions research. Right now, we'll leave those posted, and we have an online comment form on the project webpage, and I'll paste that link in the chat, beavertonoregon.gov/CM for Cooper Mountain. We are going to wrap up our what we call opportunities work, and that includes the street and trail framework study, looking at transportation needs, funding options. We completed a market analysis and have also drafted a best practices memo on natural resource protection and hillside development. So we'll be rolling out that information again in the next couple of months. We're also preparing to recruit for the Community Advisory Committee. I would expect that recruitment to begin probably in December, just given that we're so close to Thanksgiving now. And we are also in the process of recruiting for an inclusive housing cohort. This is not specific to the community plan, but it is something that I wanted to mention because we are trying to form a group that will provide feedback into several housing related projects. So the community plan is one of them, but also looking at the city's plans for affordable housing. You may have heard that we're looking at different sites for the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, and then also the Housing Options Project. And so this group is really meant to be comprised of members of the BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, and people of color, representing immigrants, refugees, and marginalized communities. And in early next year, we will be rolling out the conclusions report. This will look a lot like the existing conditions summary. Well, I foresee that it'll be brief, very user-friendly, visual, to really highlight the key findings and say, these are the decisions that need to be made, and to guide the rest of the project moving forward. And we will give an update to City Council. We're tentatively targeting kind of late February and maybe March by the time we get before City Council for our next update. And then after that, we will kick off our advisory committee meetings. And then, as I mentioned in the timeline, we're also, while this work is going on, trying to scope the remainder of the project. So we have a really solid idea of what the timeline will be for the remainder of 2021 and 2022. That was a lot of me talking. I want to make sure that we have a few minutes to, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer those now. You can also feel free to email me or call me. My contact information is on the slide.
Well, thank you. That was a really good presentation. I'm wondering if any of our presenters have questions, and I'm also looking in our Q&A in our chat.
And also we have 2 attendees that can weigh in as well, if they so choose.
So, Cassera, I'm actually curious, have you looked at the impact of not just that, like the roads and transportation and stuff for that area, but for the rest of the area? Because I know, like, since they've developed the South Cooper Mountain, I live off of Hart, the traffic on Hart, like in the morning before all COVID, I couldn't turn left off of Hart at certain times of the day. It just was impossible. And I personally worry that that's going to get a lot worse with the development of the Cooper Mountain area.
Yeah, I do know, and I'm not a transportation planner, but I do know that once we kind of have our rough road alignments, and this will be, probably sometime next year, when we're asking the community to kind of, look at different alternatives and then come up with a preferred alternative. After that, we would run some transportation modeling and do pretty extensive analysis to make sure we understand the impacts of the proposed transportation system on different intersections and facilities that may be outside of the project boundary. So that's something that I would say we haven't done a lot of analysis here in the last few months, but because Cooper Mountain area was included in the concept plan, we do have an idea of which areas might be affected outside of the plan area.
Do you think there'll be a need for any more schools? I mean, if you're bringing in that many households plus the inclusion of South Cooper Mountain, I mean, it almost seems like there would have to be another elementary school at least.
Yes, we have been working with, so it's interesting, the area is split between Beaverton and Hillsborough school districts. Beaverton School District does already have a site, I understand, for an elementary school, and Hillsborough has plans to site one. It may be near, not necessarily within the project boundary, but they are both planning for growth in this area as well.
So I'm curious, Cassera, you said that annexation won't be happening until the entire community plan is developed. And I'm wondering, what are the advantages of working it that way?
Sure. Yeah, I think we learned a few lessons in planning for South Cooper Mountain. One of them was that we really wanted to dedicate some more time to the utility planning, because we were doing a lot of that kind of in real time or after with the South Cooper Mountain plan. And so one is just giving ourselves time to, probably go a couple steps further in the level of detail, and not have, kind of development knocking at the door when we haven't figured things out yet. So that's really one of the primary reasons.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, I'm going to guess that this will definitely be a big part of the conversation, but, I'm so pleased that you're looking at this through an equity lens. And a big piece of that is when you are bringing people of different incomes into the community, like you really have to be aware of what resources are around. So it's, you were definitely alluding to pieces of that. Like if you want there to be affordable housing and for people to actually be able to live in it, then you have to have the public transportation that reaches to that area. And then you have to have grocery stores that are nearby, and preferably, like you said, gathering spots. So community center, a library branch, places of worship, all of I know you've thought about all these things, but it is critical, right? And in the work that I do, both with my nonprofit and at the Beaverton School District, we know just how important all those pieces are in order for a family to even feel welcome into a community.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier said than done. You know, all of those, you know, amenities and services are really, you know, they're on our mind a lot. And I think the challenge is going to be finding that right balance between what the market will provide, and what, you know, what approach the city wants to take. And, you know, do you allow certain things? Do you require certain things? So the regulatory framework will really be, it'll be interesting to see both what the community, you know, prioritizes, as well as, you know, what our council direction is. So
Yeah. And I've been super impressed with our community in terms of how things have been prioritized. And, you know, not the least is the department that you work in. You know, like you guys have really done a whiz bang job on, again, looking at things through an equity lens and prioritizing affordable housing. So, you know, I really appreciate that.
thank you.
I'd follow up on what Jen was saying, because that was on my mind too, about the idea of commercial space or open spaces, but primarily the commercial space. Kind of what priorities, because it's going to serve the community of, you know, 37 plus housing. Is there the adequate space available, or is it just sort of focused on, you know, the housing, you know, issue? I mean, it's a balance, but I just wonder if they've considered the availability of space to prioritize the service of that amount of people.
Yeah, I think, you know, the market analysis, which is kind of in its draft form right now, showed that there would likely be, you know, not only demand, but also that the, you know, that the development community would also supply a certain amount of commercial space. Commercial uses tend to like highly visible areas. You know, the topography is certainly a challenge. So we're probably looking at, you know, generally flatter areas along arterial roads. But we can also, you know, think about, well, you know, do we allow kind of neighborhood, really small scale commercial to kind of pop up in different areas as well? Are we talking about one commercial parcel, or, you know, it could be spread out? So those are some of the ideas that we're kind of, you know, thinking about, and we'll be asking the community for input as we start developing different, you know, land use and transportation scenarios next year.
So it's not conducive to, like, I guess, a little mini strip malls that sort of, you know, put something here and there, sort of scattershot, I guess, is a way of saying it.
Yeah, you know, it's difficult. One thing that we heard a lot was, you know, co-location with public places, and so a small commercial use might be more successful if there's something there, you know, next to it to draw people there. So that could be a school, that could be, you know, a library, it could be a, you know, public meeting space, or so. That's something else that we're looking at, that would help the success of a commercial use.
So one of the things that I was curious about, and I think, Cassera, that I'd mentioned this maybe once before, with PRCA up and about to open in the next, you know, not too distant future, and knowing that I think that a community center, I don't think that's the right term, but anyway, was kind of being discussed, and whether or not that would be applicable use out in that area, because we tend to kind of locate things centrally, and it would be nice to, you know, kind of spread the wealth.
Yeah, are you referring, Sharon, to the multicultural center? Is that, yeah. That was, and it's an action in our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard it come up in the context of Cooper Mountain. Everything's been pretty, you know, vague when we talk about, you know, community gathering spaces. But, you know, that could certainly be something that makes people feel more welcome and the neighborhood's more inclusive. So.
I'd love to see it considered. I'd love to see the pros and cons and see what's workable with it and if it's not really, but we do tend to centralize everything kind of in the downtown core. And so kind of spreading the wealth of those kinds of opportunities in other areas, I think might be a good idea to look at.
Great, thank you for the suggestion.
I was actually curious, is this going to be part of the THPRD boundary?
It will be upon annexation to the city. They, when properties come in, they usually annex to our different service districts as well.
And do you think they're going to expand the capacity of THPRD? Because I know some of the centers already are, not in COVID at capacity for, like, it's very hard to get into camps or swim lessons or stuff. And if, again, adding another 3,700 houses on top of whatever else is coming in South Cooper Mountain, you might not know this. I just wondered if there's plans to expand THPRD to meet this expanded customer base, I guess.
Yeah, I do know that they plan to expand their parks and trails. I haven't heard anything yet about a recreation center or other type of facility. But we are working closely with THPRD staff on the project, and I think that they have a community park planned, which is around the 20-acre size, a new park. There's Winkleman Park, and then THPRD and Metro are also looking at ways to potentially expand the Cooper Mountain Nature Park.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I want to thank Cassera for joining us on a Tuesday night. Nice work. And hopefully we're a lot less stressful than City Council was. That's the last time I heard you speak.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Take care. All right. Let's move on to NAC business. So first item we have listed are the minutes, and Jim sent those minutes out a couple days ago, and I am wondering if anyone has any, do you want to make a motion to approve, or does anyone have any amendments that they would make? I would just add that Shauna's name wasn't spelled correctly. That the N in Shauna, you had two N's in Shauna, and one of those N's should move over to her last name. But that was the gist of the meeting notes. Were great.
Never again.
It's hard. It's Shauna with one N and Zimmerman with two N's. I'm very difficult.
All right.
Yeah.
You should hear me order at Starbucks. I'm just like that.
You sure you don't want to change? We can vote on that.
A latte for Seona.
Right.
Oh, I have heard it all. I have heard so much worse.
Okay.
All right. So with that change, does anyone make a motion to approve the minutes from October?
I move that we approve the amended minutes from October.
And does anyone second?
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
I don't want to second my minutes.
All right.
Just so I can make you spell my name again.
I will get it right.
Fantastic. All right. We don't have a treasurer at the moment, but we haven't spent any money since last month. And so I believe we are still standing at about $3,800, which is great. And someday we'll be able to use some of that money for a community activity, and I look forward to it. Great. And then our last piece for NAC business is election of board members. And since I'm chairing tonight, I am going to have Sharon handle the election process.
Well, given who's present, I think this is going to be easy. although I do see one person in the attendee list, Colleen Lyons. And so I'm going to put it out there that the officers or the board positions that are open are the co-chair positions, excuse me, and or vice chair, the treasurer, the recorder, and the BCCI representative. Would anybody like me to tell you what those positions entail, or should we just go on to opening up from the floor any nominations?
I will go on.
Okay, awesome. So we have a slate currently as follows, and that is co-chair Jen Fife-Adams, co-chair Sharon Dunham, treasurer Jim Blaich, recorder Olivia Ross, and we are only going to take the slate of our NAC, the Sexton Mountain NAC, as we do not have representation from the neighbor Southwest NAC this time. So that's going to be in January that we will deal with that. I would like to invite people from the floor, Colleen, if you would like to put your self-nominations are taken. And do I hear any other?
And Shauna Zimmerman as a director who would
correct, which is not a voting, we don't vote on that one.
Okay.
Per Lanny. So, okay. So what I would need is, seeing that there are no other additional candidates, nominations, I would need somebody to make a motion to accept the slate as identified.
Motion to accept the slate as identified.
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote, and please raise your hand as we are being videoed. All those in favor of the slate as presented, say aye or raise hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay or that. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. This is our slate as carries forward for next year. And again, we will deal with Neighbor Southwest next year in January. Okay. That was easy peasy.
Too easy.
I know.
Well done. And I really enjoy working with you guys.
High five.
High five. All right. I'm going to open the floor for any comments or questions. I'm wondering if you'll mind if I share the screen for a moment, just to show you something that our local community is working on. All right. I've never shared the screen before, so got to figure it out.
Go, Jen. You got it.
Whew. All right.
Jen's taking a walk on the wild side.
Yeah.
Ooh, garage band.
Okay, so I just got to find what I was going to share. There we go. All right, so just want to share that the nonprofit that I work with, Planting Seeds, has started its 2020 virtual flurry of giving. And we are trying to raise gift cards to help local Beaverton families in need. And we are working with local school counselors and social workers to make sure that families who have the greatest need get the gift cards that they need. And so it is, you know, Amazon and Target, Safeway, Fred Meyer, and then we are also accepting gift cards. Like Winco doesn't have a way that you can just buy an online gift card very easily. So if folks have questions, please feel free to send a question my way.
Now, are we able to share this out on our NAC site, is that permissible?
I think Franziska would be able to answer that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. I will work with you, Shauna, that we can make a nice slide.
Perfect.
Great. All
Shauna,
right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the next door posts for the past year, when you put, the question is, when you put a post out,
Mm-hmm.
and if it goes out, say too early, like a week or so beforehand, does Nextdoor, because I was getting like a reminder right before the event again. So is that only to the person who creates the post, or is that a global reminder?
It is if you see an event and you click on the event that you're interested, then it will send you a reminder. It will send it to the person that created it, but it will send it to anybody. So if you see an event and you say, "Oh, I'm interested in this," then it will send you a reminder.
But if you don't,
But if you
won't get
don't,
it.
then it won't send you anything.
Okay,
And
that's the clarification.
and I told Jen, I've been playing around with stuff because I'm trying to get a feel for how much uptake. My experience in the past has been that people ignore events on Nextdoor unless they're fairly imminent. And so I put it out later than we might have in the past, because people forget about things and people just tend to like breeze by and not click
Right.
interest. I think only one person on the whole thing, clicked that they were interested. I don't have the perfect formula for that. Unfortunately, on Facebook, I can go back and see the metrics. I can see like who clicked in, how many people are engaging with it. I can go see the hours that people engaged with it. On Nextdoor, I can't see any of that. So I'm just kind of playing it a little bit blind.
Will they give you analytics if you ask for it?
I don't think so. I tried looking and I couldn't find anything where I couldn't find anything.
Okay, one other thing about Nextdoor, I was kind of double dipping. And so what I would do is I would put one out in general and I would put one out in meeting. So
Okay, I did an event.
Yeah, it was an event. And then also you can do it as a meeting. So there are two different, I'd have it go out to two different things at the same time.
Okay, I can try that. Yeah. And the other thing too is I don't get a sense of how many people we get from any,
Which is why I had talked to Jen before the meeting and asked that, well, we only had two people who were participants, participants. And we didn't get a sense of how they found out. And I think from here on out, we should ask anybody who, like the other meeting that we thought, oh man, Becky was going to get really inundated with questions. No, they were there for the
development.
Development, yes. And so, and as soon as that was done, they were all gone. But how it would still be good to find out how they come about. Is it Facebook? Is it website? Is it word of mouth? Is it Nextdoor?
the other person that was on there, I recognize him from our Facebook.
Was that Eric Squires?
Yeah, I think he's on our Facebook.
Okay.
I think he's one of our Facebook friends
Okay.
because his name was familiar.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
He's gone.
Okay. All right. So logistics question for Franziska and the rest of us. Training for new positions. So Jim, do you feel comfortable reaching out to Scott and setting up a session with him, even if it's over Zoom? And then once you have the keys to the car or whatever, Sharon and I need to go to the bank with you in an appropriately socially distant way to get our signatures so that we can have access to the account.
Easy enough. Yep.
Okay. And then Franziska, would you like Olivia to set up something with Jim or to talk to you or Miles about recording?
Yeah, so setting something up with Jim for the time being. In 2021, in early 2021, we'll do our annual recorder training. And so that'll be a good time to do a deeper dive into the skills with being a recorder. But because obviously we're not going to meet in December.
Has the format that I've been putting the minutes together been acceptable to the group, or, I mean, that's, that's basic.
Yeah.
All right. That's easy.
All right. So, Olivia, I'm putting this in your hands to reach out to Jim and set up 10 minutes.
Seona, 1 N, 2 M, Zimmerman.
Gosh.
Right?
Excellent.
Thanks, Olivia.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yay.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
Yeah.
All right. And big clap of hands for Olivia doing so well, helping out on the last campaign that she worked on. So great job. And in fact, she has gotten asked to do an internship. So I'm very psyched for her.
Well done, Olivia. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited as well. I'm excited to have Lacey in office.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So you'll be a mayoral candidate yourself soon.
Yeah, for Beaverton, we'll keep it local.
Yeah. There you go. And we'll say that we knew you when.
That's
I know.
right.
Yeah.
You knew me when, that's for sure. You guys can get shirts made.
Yep. Wow. Actually, I've known you for a long time, so that'll be to pull out the very little Olivia pictures. All right. Well, I hope that everyone has as joyful a Thanksgiving as you possibly can have. Keep it safe, and have a wonderful Christmas if I don't talk to you.
And thank you, Colleen Lyons, for attending as well.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Mhm.
And then I'll probably set up a meeting with Sharon and maybe Franziska so we can talk about the February meeting, which is NAC 101. So when I get a chance, I will email something to you guys. Okay? All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye.